back, everybody, to another video. Today in this video, I'm back showing off my Yu-Gi-Oh! GOAT deck. I just got back from the tournaments I do, the little tournaments. You play against 3 people, right? And then you learn a lesson about the deck, and then come back and I talk about what needs to be changed and what worked, right? So I've split them up into 3 piles of the spells, traps, and monsters. We're gonna start with monsters, because I always think monsters are the coolest and the most important in a deck. Alright, and so starting off here, we have a Swarm of Scarabs. So this deck is a bit more like control-y and stall-y, so this is definitely a very big help. I was loving it when I was playing it. It's great, it puts your opponent on edge. The next card we got here is Cowback. Cowback here is an amazing card, because he's just got generally high stats. He's got a decent ability that makes sure that he always trades equally because the opponent's monsters bounce back. And then he also has 1500 attack. He doesn't have more than that. So you can get him off Sangan if you really, you can search him with Sangan. So he's a great card, Cowback. I think an underrated gem because he's got so many positives. And then going over here, we have Penguin Soldier. This guy puts in work. He didn't put in too much work with these games just because he kept getting his flip effect negated with, Blade Knight and Cross Out. That's a big problem with a lot of the flip effects, is that, people just... Every deck nowadays is running like 50 Gnome and a Cross Out, and so you can't really get him off. But he's a great card. And then we got Mask of Darkness. I have a lot of traps. Mask of Darkness allows me to recycle them and just keep recycling the cards I need, and he keeps, you keep that card advantage going. And it's not even card advantage, it's equality, right? Moving through the deck and getting cards you can use. So he's great. Then we've got Swarm of Locusts. This is like Swarm of Scarabs, but for spells and traps. And this is great because, your opponents will try to be aggressive at the start. They'll set all their cards. You can play this and kind of play slow, negate them, and kind of wait, and then flip, boom, and just kind of slowly dent into them. And honestly, that's the thing. If you're just going neutral trades, right, you destroy one spell and boom, replaces itself, right? So Swarm of Locusts, great card in this deck. Then we get to Sangan. This is, the Universal Searcher. You get this guy, you have access to basically the whole deck, or some way of getting to the whole deck. Zanzan's great. That's why he's limited. He's level 3, so Gravity Bind doesn't get him. He's got pretty good stats. He's a great card. And then we get to Magician of Faith. So Magician of Faith, the reason Magician of Faith is in here is just to recycle the spells, right? It's like Mask of Darkness, but for spells, right? You get your, they destroy your Stumbling. You get Stumbling back. You need more warriors. You can bring back a reinforcement summon. It's spells, you play them instantly. Unlike traps, where you have to wait a bit, and your opponent is less likely to fall into the traps, or can destroy them because they know what you're talking about, know what you have down. With spells, you can use them immediately, so you get a bit more of an instant effect out of that, and so you can get a lot of advantage off that. Then we got Cyberjar. I did not play this card today. Right, I did not get the able to. I didn't draw it, but this is a great card. Just it's a big. You draw a ton of cards, play a ton of cards. It just reinforces what you have, and it's almost the effect of in this kind of slower strategy. You can kind of play this card, and then boom, you instantly put up all the fences, and you put up you play all the monsters, and your opponent can't do anything because they all cover each other's weaknesses, and you don't really have to build it. You can just instantly build up your castle walls, which I think is a great. Then we got Mystic Tomato. So Mystic Tomato, I only have one Mystic Tomato, right? I can't float into any others. But this is like Sangan, where if your opponent only has one monster, which that's kind of what you're hoping for with this deck, is to destroy all the monsters and then just plan their normal summons each turn. With this, you can have Mystic Tomato. He gets destroyed. You play your Scarabs or your Locusts, and then you can activate the effect and destroy a key piece. Right? Mystic Tomato can basically turn into removal, which is great. And thins the deck kind of, because you can kind of turn a card in your deck into another card in your deck. And there's a decent bit of dark targets because you can also turn them into like Cliff. You can make Cliff Trap Remover. You can put him in there. You can, there's a couple darks in this deck that you can use them with. And then we have Marauding Captain. So Marauding Captain really is not, I've kind of stepped away from the warrior archetype or the warrior kind of deck strategy of being more aggressive. But Marauding Captain still has a spot in this deck. Just the fact he's a level 3 and you can get him off of reinforcements to your army. And if your opponent has a big problem with this deck is that scapegoats is very common, and Marauding Captain just basically allows you to get ahead of the curve. You have your hands full of monsters or a couple monsters. You have reinforcements to your army. You can turn your reinforcements into a Marauding Captain, and you just get another body. And he also kind of protects. He protects the warriors. He protects. He's weak, but he's a use case, and once again, he just allows you to get ahead of the curve. And then we got DD Assailant. This guy's just a big hard hitter, and he can trade up, right? When he gets destroyed, you can set him. Your opponent attacks into him. You don't take damage, but they don't either. But all the cards get destroyed, and so he's just great. Once again, a warrior, you can search him, with reinforcements in the army. And that's the thing, I don't have it's less of a warrior deck, but you still have enough warriors to make reinforcements useful, and reinforcements is a great card. And then we have Command Knight. So Command Knight really is here just for high stats, right? I mean, has great stats of 1200 and 1900, but so you can search her off saying, and you can get her. She's really easy to get a hold of, right? You have ease of access, right, with this card, but also 1600 because she boosts herself, right, and she also boosts your other warriors, right? Your Dream Clowns, your Marauding Captains, your DD Assailants. Boosts them up. Great card, right? And you equal on stats, high stats, which allows, because you're using Stumbling, that's one big thing. I want to get more Stumblings, right? Use Stumbling. Defense mode is important, right? And a lot of people don't play in that. They have their attack mode, and they're not really thinking about defense mode. You're the one playing it, so you think about defense mode, right? And then we get to the Dream Clowns, right? So we get, I've got 2 Dream Clowns in this deck. And Dream Clown, right, will kind of combos with the Stumbling and allows, control of the board, right? You flip-flop, you stall them out, and you can just clear all their enemies, all their monsters. And you're not using a card to do it, right? You're not playing a spell or anything, and so you get advantage off of that because you're being, conservative with what you're using, right? So that's where Dream Clown is powerful, right? So, and then we got Cliff. So Cliff over here, he doesn't really provide much. He's just, level 3, 1200 attack, destroys traps, and he's a dark, right? So this allows you to, get in the darks. The main thing is just, I don't like traps, I'm a big fan of them in my deck, but, he just kind of antagonizes your opponent and destroys them, which is great. And then we have another Command Knight, once again, great card, just pure stats, that's why I run it. Dream Clown, once again, have multiple Dream Clowns. I was thinking of, maybe you don't use 2, maybe you only have 1, because you can search them off reinforcements of the army. But then I was thinking, well, hey, use 2, right? I don't know where you're going, but Dream Clown, once again, if you have 2 of them, even more destruction, your opponent can't make anything up. And then we have Frontier Wiseman over here. So Frontier Wiseman's, level 3, Gravity Bind, 1600. Wish it was kind of 1500 because then you could search him off Sangan. He protects against spells. Kind of wish he was a warrior because then he would protect himself from spells. he's fine. He is kind of the first one gonna get kind of on the chopping block. He's one of the guys on the chopping block just because he doesn't have high defense. And if you're playing stumbling, you want high defense, and you need to be able to kind of get through that phase. But he's still fine. But there might be better cards. And then here we got Hunter with 7 weapons. He is in the same boat as Frontier Wiseman. This is because he's a level 3, can have 2,000 defense, 2,000 attack. He can be searched off Sanguine, which is good, but he's just got low defense. And that was something that I would run into this, is that, you know, you'd have Stumble on the field and then you play it, and it's like, well, why do I play that? You know, when is it able time to play Hunter? There really is none. And if you can't play him ever, then you don't need to run him. And then last year we got Gearfried. So Gearfried is actually a very strong, powerful card, just for the fact that he has high stats. Right? He has 1,800 attack, 1,600 defense. He's able to, you know, ward off attacks when he's in defense mode, and he's able to deal out damage when he is in attack mode. So, you know, stumbling around doesn't get him tripped up. So he's good. Once again, he is another card on his chopping block just because he doesn't do too much, and he's, you know, level 4, so you can't really attack with him. And you don't really need that many attacking guys, but he's fairly good, and so you don't really need to worry about him too much messing you up, right? You can just kind of play him, and he does his job. So that was the monsters. And so now we're going to go over to the trap cards. So starting off with the trap cards, we have a compulsory evacuation device. So Compulse is a great card because once again it delays your opponent's attacks. It keeps them living. That's a big thing. You know, a lot of the effect monsters are weak, so you use Compulse to protect them and to get their effects off, which is great. The only downside is they get them back, so you're not really gaining card advantage. You're losing card advantage because your opponent gets it, but you're just kind of delaying them. And with all the other destruction effects, I think, you know, bounce effect is fine. And then we have Robin Goblin here. So Robin Goblin, I like Robin Goblin just because it's kind of a versatile card. You can punish them. You punish your opponent for attacking defense position monsters. You know, when they don't know, you can kind of flip them and be like, hey, high defense, Robin Goblin. And you can also be aggressive with it. This is a card where it's like later in the game, you can't really do much because your opponent's just got too big of a board and Robin Goblin doesn't do anything. But I'd say it's worth it. You know, you're only running one, so you're glad when it's in your opening hand. But if you're trying to late game, you kind of hope your deck did a good enough job where you're not gonna completely lose just because you drew the wrong card, right? Because, you know, drawing cards is about luck, and, you know, with Robin Goblin, it's like, yeah, just stick some more luck in there. And then we got Gravity Bind here. So Gravity Bind is a great card because, once again, it just delays your opponent, and it makes it so your opponent's big monsters cannot attack you, which is great. And that's my favorite type of card, is a card where you can play around it because you knew that you were going to play it, but your opponent can't because they didn't think you were going to play it. And that's why I like Gravity Bind, because it's just a great card, and it, you know, halts your opponent. And then we got Dust Tornado. So Dust Tornado, once again, just trap destruction. Your opponent, you know, how dare they play a trap? Destroy it. You know, powerful cards are powerful. That's why you get rid of them. And then we got Needle Sealing. So Needle Sealing is honestly kind of a tricky card because, once again, it just destroys everything, which is fine. It doesn't destroy set cards, which is amazing because you can set your cards, they attack mode, boom, destroy them. But also, your opponent might just, you might not have 4 cards on the field and then you can't use it. That was one of the big things in one of my games, that I had it on the field the whole game and we just never got up to 4 monsters. And so it's kind of like, well, why am I playing it if I can never use it? But I think it's good enough in most scenarios, and you just got to be smart and when you activate and kind of activate it and not get too greedy, because there's a lot of times where it's like, oh well, they'll tribute summon and destroy, and it's like, oh well, you should have needle sealing. All right, now we get Callahan. Callahan, great card. That's why it's limited up, and it's an amazing card. I had this great play where you call the Haunted back, your Dream Clown, and then the effect activates because of stumbling. Right, it's a great card, and it just, once again, special summoning is amazing because you're doubling the amount of push on your opponent, which is, that's why it's an amazing card. And then we got the other Compulse. Like I said before, it just delays your opponent, and then you can also use it on your guys in order so then they don't die. Once again, it's just great. You do go down in card advantage, but you can also kind of use it, once again, with these kind of effects where they're very open-ended. You can kind of just activate them in response, and your opponent gets less out of their plays too, right? Because they're like, oh, they have all these traps. They just go, oh, I'm going to Heavy Storm. And then you can just go, well, I activate all of them, and so you got no use out of it, right? I guess you got the use of, I'm activating all of them, but I still get an effect, which is great. And then we have Solemn Judgment here. So we have 2 Solemn Judgments in this deck. And this is, once again, it's just delay your opponent. Stop your opponent from playing key cards when they need to, right? They go, oh, hey, because that's a big thing, right? You can destroy them, but this is more for spells. That's honestly, because traps, you can kind of prematurely destroy them. With Solemn Judgment, it's like, well, hey, you're going to try to play a big, powerful spell. No, you're not. And life points, it does matter, right? A lot of people say, oh, it doesn't matter. Life points do matter, but also trying to not die also matters, and sometimes you just have to weigh the consequences. And then we have Waboku. So Waboku is actually, I've kind of had a little wave of my appreciation for this card. Originally I was like, this is a great card, makes all your guys invincible, makes you invincible, great card. And then I was like, well, it's not that good because it just kind of lets them live, right? I mean, there's not really an effect. And then I'm like, oh, wait, it lets them live. Recontextualizing how you think about it. Because in a delay strategy, it's like, yeah, you don't want your Dream Clowns to die. You want them to be alive. So Waboku allows them to live. And that's I think, Waboku's a great card. I think, once again, it's kind of based on what deck you're building. But in this deck, it's a great card. And then we have Torrential Tribute. This card is just kind of, big destruction. It probably isn't as good as it should be in this deck, just because, I've transformed a warrior deck into a stall deck. So maybe this is a card you get rid of. But also, it's Torrential Tribute, right? You can get really greedy with it and just destroy everything and screw your opponent. So it's great. And then we have Magic Cylinder. Once again, this is just delay your opponent and get in some damage, because a big problem with this deck and a problem I'm hoping to improve is that you don't do any damage, right? Yeah, you're killing all their things, but also you're not killing them, right? They're still healthy as a horse. So this helps you get their life down a bit more, and so you can actually get them in the range of killing them. Alright, so those were the traps. Now we are going to move on to the spells. And we don't have as many spells as we did traps or monsters. But they're still very powerful. Some powerful spells. So we got Reinforcements to the Army. Great card. I think this is just, if you're using any amount of warriors, put at least one or so in. And it's just great because it's like toolbox, right? This is basically any warrior in your deck. Boom. Right? Now you have them in your hand. And then we got Stumbling. Great card. This whole deck is built around Stumbling. It delays your opponents. That's what it does. It activates your effects of Dream Clowns. It's a great card, and in this deck, I want to get another Stumbling just so then you have a bit more luck in getting it, because that's what the deck's built around. But if you don't, right, it's not the biggest deal. You can still kind of deal with your opponent with your Wabokus and delaying until you get a Stumbling, and you're a bit slower and they're a bit faster. But with stumbling, you kind of even the odds. But so I might want to get another one. Then you got Mage Power. So Mage Power here is, really Mage Power is just there because your monsters are weak, and sometimes what you need to kill a big guy is another big guy, and so Mage Power just boosts and makes your guys big. And that's why it's in here. And then we got Swords of Revealing Light. Once again, this is just stall. Stop your opponent from progressing their game plan and killing all your guys. And you play more guys and kill their guys with your effects. And just kind of you progress the board and slowly chip away at their resources. And then we got Mystical Space Typhoon. This is like Dorse Tornado, but a spell. It's quick play, so it's basically just Dorse Tornado. Dust Tornado is good. Destroy their cards. This is pretty handy just because you can destroy anything. So maybe, hey, you can kill them right now. You can kill your opponent, but Stumbling's on the field and you need to normal summon a guy to kill him. Well, you can destroy your own guys. That you can destroy your own spells and traps, where Dust Tornado can't, but this can. And so that's another. It's just slightly more usable than Dust Tornado, but it's great, and they've each got their own benefits. And then we've got Giant Trunade. So Giant Trunade's here just because it's a good card. It's powerful. If your opponent has defenses, and you can just Giant Trunade them away, it's great. It's a great card. Just move them away. You think, oh hey, I think they've set some traps that are gonna kill me, right? Like. That was the one my favorite games. I had tons of fun at it. My opponent won by using a Ring of Destruction on one of my dream cons to kill me because I was at really low because I Solemn Judgment like 50 times. Well, if I played Giant Trunade, well then I could have made it so it delayed a turn. Maybe I drew a card and I could destroy it and then permanently done that and kind of done something. Who knows? But yeah, who knows? Reinforcement in the Army, once again, Toolbox, great card. Book of Moon allows you to reset your flip monsters. That's how I got my Solemn Judgment, because I flipped my Mask of Darkness upside down, right? So you reuse your flip effects, get more cards, and it's also very defensive. It's just kind of versatility. It's just kind of a versatile card. And then got Brain Control. So Brain Control, this is the one card that I will get rid of. And I will actually tell you what I'm getting rid of, because the use case of Brain Control, you're like, oh, you take their big guy and kill him. But also, I'd rather just destroy the big guy. So that's why I'm on camera here. I'm going to just flip-flop them. And then, boom. Because Hammer Shot is just significantly better in the use cases I want it to be. Because a lot of times, big guys, they clear your board, you do some bad stuff. Hammer Shot just allows you to, boom, kill them, and be done with it. So, those are all the cards in the deck I played today. But, what are my plans for the future? What could I improve with this deck? Tell me in the comments below. But what my opinion is that I need another Stumbling, probably. And I would love to have maybe a Dekoichi, maybe, right? I want some card draw. Or maybe even, you do a Deslakuda. You do Deslakuda. And, I was also thinking maybe you do maybe you add another Mystic Potato or another Mystic Tomato. Maybe you add another one. Maybe you add a giant rat, and then that's if you have the Des Lakuta, your giant rat, and then you have Earth monsters that you can gain access to. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.